What is up, everyone? This is Ian here, and this is the 13th edition of ZecDaily. I'm traveling right now, so I don't have my mic with me, so I apologize for any echo. And due to the echo and probably lack of audio quality, try to keep this as quick as possible. So the first thing I want to touch on is the Zcash Foundation is inviting members of the Zcap to nominate people from the community for that open board slot. And yeah, I'm excited to see how, the community advisory panel, how they feel about this current situation, the people that they nominate, and also the broader community, and seeing how the broader community members, comment and either support or voice their lack of support for the various nominees for this open board slot. For recap, for those who aren't familiar, the Zcash Foundation announced at ZCon 3 that they are going to be having a open board slot come up soon, and that they're going to be looking to fill that role. And that is just, that role has a lot of influence on the strategic direction for the Zcash Foundation from like a consulting or consultory, is that how you say it? Consultory or slash advising perspective. And yeah, they're looking to fill that now, and they're going to, follow the advice of Zip 1014 and reach out to the Zcash community advisory panel for their thoughts and their advice on, trying to fill that open slot. So excited for the next little bit. Little sidebar, I did see JW Barrett get nominated for that open board slot. I just want to vocalize my support for him, and I think he'd be a great fit for the role. So yeah. This next little bit here is something that can be quite confusing for a lot of people. And so ECC, well, maybe it's not quite confusing for people in the everyday community, but just people who are learning about Zcash for the first time. So we're talking about the difference between Zcash and Zec, and this is from a little series that ECC, is doing right here called Learn Zcash. And the difference is, Zec being that native asset that lives on the Zcash protocol, and then Zcash being the actual protocol / blockchain. So there is a difference, and obviously people do use them interchangeably. But when you look at other communities, Ether, Ethereum, Solana, Sol, Bitcoin with a large B, or Bitcoin / BTC, Bitcoin being with a lowercase b as the currency, every community, or a lot of different, not every community, but a lot of different blockchain ecosystems call the currency something else when comparing to the actual native protocol. And that's the same thing here with Zec and Zcash. Zec is a shielded asset that lives on the Zcash protocol, but it can also become just another asset on another blockchain. So ECC is focusing on that user experience for Zec, the asset, and adding value and utility for that. So great thread, and some more of those are going to be coming out via ECC over the next little while. So here we've got an forum update from Allison regarding the shielded dialogues, and that they have reached their first milestone for the project. And just want to, voice congratulations here. They did 2 conversations, one with Andrew Miller and one with Zuko Wilcox, and a third with Why You're Sleeping, but it's going to be going live this Friday. So let's be on the lookout for that. And yeah, just some great content and great conversations around why, private transactions and private decentralized money is important. You look at the views here. Andrew Miller at 20,000 and Zuko Wilcox at 14,000. I mean, those numbers speak for themselves. So just really great work here from the team there, and really excited to see how this third conversation goes, and just really excited to see how they're doing. And it says here in this third bit, it says they're going to write here again after the third video has potentially reached 20,000 views, which will be kind of like the condition to see that they ask for funding or not. But do want to say, like, 20,000 and 14,000 is quite good. So, if the third video, kind of hovers around those numbers, I'd be really interested in seeing the community's perspective. Because, as we're going to talk about here in this next little bit of ZecUp, recording a podcast and kind of putting that out there and marketing it is not as easy as some might think. So if they're getting these numbers, and there's not a lot of other podcasts that are really focusing on these types of issues, I'd say, yeah, let's consider another grant here, per the upcoming proposal. So really excited there. And we released the 4th episode of our podcast with Roommate Musing from Zcash Media, where we discussed a lot of different things. It is not at 20,000 views. I think it's approaching 200. But yeah, really excited nonetheless, because I think the content from these podcasts, it was actually, of the 4 podcasts we released, it had the most engagement. So people like commenting and talking about it. I've actually had people I don't know like reach out on Twitter, like kind of thanking me for the episode because of just the quality of it, and saying that it helps them like learn a lot more about Zcash, which is really, really cool. And specifically when the episode, we talked about like various topics, communicating Zcash to the world, how we can learn from like other decentralized ecosystems. I think specifically we talked a lot about Bitcoin and Ethereum and how they do a really good job of like community marketing strategy. I talked about like the process of the grant and like doing all these interviews with the biggest names in crypto, which, is a really interesting thing to hear. And we also touched on like decentralizing Zcash as a whole. When I recorded the message, I wasn't extremely confident on how it was going to turn out. I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation with David and had a great time recording it. But we talked about a lot of different things and kind of went off into a lot of sidebars. So I was a bit concerned about the flow. But when I listened to it, I was on the plane to New York City. Oh, I thought honestly, like, not to kind of shill my own stuff, but I did think it was really good. So I would recommend, and David, not me, David's just part of explaining everything. I'd recommend everyone check it out and listen to it on 1.5 or 1.7x, because when you're doing a podcast, it's really easy to talk slow. So if you don't have 2 hours, which is the length, 1.5 or 1.7x to break it down to like an hour and 15 minutes. Really good episode, and hope everyone enjoys it. The next bit here, I think I'm going to back up. So Shielded Memes, this new account in the Zcash community, wrote about how if you control the memes, you control the universe. That quote from Elon Musk. And they're writing about how people are not, the quote they use, which I don't know if I agree with 100%, but saying like, oh, long threads and these different forms of communications aren't as popular anymore. I think obviously everything's just different, but they're going, and we can debate on that, and agree or not. But I really appreciate what they're doing here, because they're bringing this different perspective. I think my friend's coming in. I think they're bringing this different perspective to the Zcash community, and providing something that's been lacking for a really long time, which is like this account that's really focusing on providing memes and providing like this short term like attention feed, like for people with like shorter terms attention, that's like going to pique their interest more than like reading like a 20 tweet thread, because you have to be interested in something or have something really spike your interest to read an entire thread or read an entire blog or even listen to a podcast. So by having like these shorter forms of communication, it's really filling a void that really isn't there in the Zcash community. Zcash, there's a lot of like, podcasts coming out, or Zuko's going on podcasts, a lot of like more technical threads on the research. Obviously with this channel, we're trying to do different things, but no one has really gone out and said, we're going to try to like, I know the Zcash LATAM community has been doing a lot like in the memes, and obviously I'm like super supportive of that. But even like specifically around like English language memes, there's been a massive gap, and it's really excited to see someone dedicating like a full channel to this. And there's like 4 to 5 posts, maybe even more. I'm seeing like 4 to 5 posts a day. And some of them are actually like really funny. So I recommend everyone check this channel out. And I actually use this channel as an example for when I was speaking to people about like getting started and contributing in crypto. I was like, oh yeah, there's this channel called Shielded Memes, and they just like looked at this void in the Zcash community and they filled it. And now they're in this position as like the first mover, and everyone who wants to like go to a specific Zcash meme channel. And I don't know if they were the first mover, but the first, like the mover in the current ecosystem, like they're the main channel right now, kind of putting out those memes, and they've just started like really recently this month. So recommend everyone check those out. And sorry, phone went off. Can put that do not disturb. Check this channel out and just kind of like, give a tip to the Zec wallet and just stay up to date on all the things they're doing. I think it's really, really cool. This next bit, ECC went to New York City. I think it was 7 or 8 members of the ECC growth team. And then also Dan, Decentralist Dan from the Zcash Foundation, went out to mainnet in New York City. And we're just going to talk about all of that really quickly. So this first bit, we've got a tweet from Paul Brigner. Privacy is normal at mainnet 2022. And just want to kind of give everyone an update on how that went. So we've gone out to the conference, set up this booth, had that poster there, that poster that went viral on crypto Twitter probably like a month ago, month and a half ago. And I would have to say the amount of times we were told that we had the best t-shirts, because we had the privacy is normal t-shirts, and that we had the best message was quite astounding. And a lot of people out there are being a lot more vocal about their support for Zcash. We had so many people come up to the booth saying like, I remember I heard about Zcash in like 2016, 2017, but I didn't really follow it much until now because of the recent developments regarding like crypto and crypto privacy. So I want to just voice to everyone that we did a great job of like having this message out there, and then also that everyone in the cryptocurrency ecosystem was just more open to hearing it now and a lot more interested in the things that the various teams building on Zcash are building. So I thought it was an absolutely great experience, and for gone to a few of these conferences, and excluding ZCon 3, this was probably I have felt about the most confident I have felt about Zcash post conference. So really, really enjoyed that. And within that, we had Zuko on a panel with Ryan Selkis and Vitalik Buterin. Ryan Selkis from Masari, and then Vitalik Buterin from the Ethereum community, and they just talked about a lot of different things. And I just want to read this quote that Zuko said. The Zcash community has a really important role to play. We're already here. We have this technology, and we're ready to add that culture that privacy is normal, and that's going to make the big difference. Which I think is a really cool statement. He was asked like, "What's the most important thing we can do over like the next 5 years?" I believe that was the question. And he was just saying like the technology of Zcash is in a really, really good place. And now it's time to increase that cultural relevancy, that we do need privacy at the base layer of these applications. And we need to have assets, or not the base layer of all these applications, but we need to have shielded assets that protect, the store value for users, and protect their ability to do private transactions, and have that asset live in a lot of different places, so users can go use those transparent applications. And obviously, if you look back at like the centralized crypto finance companies all blowing up, obviously a few months back, having those transparent DeFi protocols is a plus, but allowing users the ability to kind of shield a lot of their wealth back into a shielded asset. That's a really, really interesting perspective. And Zuko is just trying to bring that cultural relevance into the conversation. And that's what we were doing at Mainnet. So I was really excited there about that quote specifically. And we're going to click into this tweet actually. And you don't see this very often. Someone from the Justice Department on stage with the founder of Ironfish, Lean the Bean. I believe the name is Elena Nadolinsky, who's the founder of Ironfish, another privacy preserving cryptocurrency protocol. Ryan Selkis, and then I'm sorry, I didn't include Gary's Twitter. Gary has a Twitter, but Gary Weinstein from the ECC. And they talked about, these OFAC sanctions and just like that fight for crypto privacy over the next few years, and just a bidirectional discussion between members of the cryptocurrency community and someone and a government official. And do want to clearly state that, the member of the DOJ that was there, DOJ and Treasury are different. Like they're different, organizations in Washington. But wanted to say that, I just listening to the feedback from Gary. I was actually during these two talks from Zuko and then Gary, I was actually in Harlem, which is what we're going to touch on here in a little bit. So I wasn't actually able to listen to them live, but just listening to the feedback from Gary, that, just kind of getting that message out there again, that privacy is normal and people need privacy and Gary specifically touched on something. You need privacy and censorship resistance for human rights and democracy activism. So if that's something that we want to work on, and we want to make available to the world as Americans, we need to ensure that these systems are in place. So Gary killed it. Great job from Gary here on this talk. And again, like I've said many times, doing the Lord's work out from a regulatory perspective. This next bit, which was really, really cool. We went to the City College of New York City in Harlem with a ton of different speakers from the cryptocurrency community. Ton of different people were there. And we went out and talked to these people who are from communities in different places that have not always been served by traditional finance or fiat currencies. And we talked to them about using cryptocurrencies and how cryptocurrency can be a tool in advancing, more economic equality, economic freedom, etc. And I thought the overall conference was just amazing. Like it was brilliant, and that the fact that we went out to these places and these people were really, really engaged, and they asked amazing questions, and they collaborated with us, and we actually onboarded them into Zcash and went and bought like coffee using the Flex Suspend app, and just kind of showing them all these different things, which was really, really cool. And they actually gave us feedback we never think about as cryptocurrency users. Like we all use these applications. We're kind of used to this like subpar user experience. But these people who were kind of never introduced to these things before said to us, yeah, you're not going to be able to onboard the next billion people with these apps. Like these apps aren't good enough, or they were talking about accessibility. Like one person there who I was speaking to, he's legally blind, and it was really, really hard for him to like actually use the application, because when you put like the zoom on, when he would zoom in the text to like use the app, it would stop working. It only worked when it was in like normal view, which is another thing that we spoke about, which was something I had never considered, like never had considered before. So for me, it just reinforced the fact that, a lot of people out there want to have different routes away from traditional banking and away from fiat currencies, but they just don't know what the potential is. And they honestly, like when they get onboarded into these things, it's really, really complicated. And they hear all these things like NFTs and Ponzi schemes, and they don't know like the base layer technologies, because that's not what's being shared out in the news. We're talking about things that in hindsight don't really matter to the majority of the world. It might matter to a lot of different communities, that have, access to these varying technologies, but people who are just trying to get started and just trying to get something a little bit different than the things that may have not have served them before. There's just a lot of things we have to explain, and we just have to continue to have these conversations with people, in diverse communities, to make sure that like they get introduced, and then they can learn these things, and then kind of then go share it with their broader communities. There was so much discussion, with the students in all of these, different, organizations. Edge, Gemini, Flexa, Bitmain was there, Pangea, which is an investment, which is a hedge fund. Just so many different, like different speakers who've been absolutely fantastic. But it all came back to like a few core questions. How can I use this to get money to my family abroad? How can I use something that is a currency if the government wants to shut me down? How can I, use this as a tool against inflation? And there was some very nuanced conversation there, because obviously crypto goes up and down against the US dollar. How can we use these things as a currency instead of just like a store of wealth or a transfer of money? Like, can we actually buy things with this thing instead of like, yeah, how can we use cryptocurrency without know your customer? Like all of these different conversations that just need to be continuing to have in different communities, so people of those communities can understand the risks and the different things behind technology. Another big point: talk to people about the risks. Do not share this dream that is risk free. Like really tell people like these are the risks when using these types of technologies, because they're so new. And really just go out there and like have these conversations and really show people. One person said to us, after she came up to us and said, "You guys came here, and this is so cool because the title was Crypto in Context, was the title of the event. You guys came here and talked about something that we only looked as like a speculative asset for rich people, and put it in the context of it, how we can use it and how it can serve our communities." And just like really telling people like you can have money in your Zcash wallet and you can send it to someone all the way across the world, and it takes 10 minutes. Like explaining that to people, that like that really, really mattered to them. Yeah, and it was just an awesome, awesome conversation. And then yeah, that quote there, I just thought the entire thing was absolutely brilliant. So great job to ECC, great job to Beth Patterson, head of strategic alliances at ECC, who put this together. Great job to a couple of other members of the ECC team that organized this event and did all of like the management of the event, like getting the speakers there and getting like the vendors there, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And just extremely excited to have more of those conversations within communities and really understand, like help them understand like the beauty of cryptocurrency and what it can actually do. So really, again, really appreciate everyone listening in on this today. This is going to be like the last little piece of Zec Hub that I do for the next 2 weeks. I'm taking a break for 2 weeks. Going to really be focusing on, obviously I'm traveling and going to a lot of different conferences, and then also going to be focusing on like getting the 8-member community DAO that's going to manage Zec Hub for its second 3-month season, getting them in a position and getting us in a position to where we can like hit the ground running on October 1st or October 3rd or 4th. I think October 1st, the weekend. But yeah, so October 3rd. And yeah, just again, appreciate all the support. And we haven't gone anywhere, but we are taking a 2-week break and wanted to get this out there before the break started. So again, appreciate everyone's support for the first season of Zec Hub, and excited to see where it all takes us. And again, amazing week. And I'm starting to feel, and I think Thorns tweeted this, starting to feel the momentum going into Zcash's favor. And I know we're in a bear market, and I know macroeconomic picture sucks, but I think, it's really exciting time to be a part of this community. So again, thanks everyone for watching, and really looking forward to the next little bit of Zcash's future.